G'day everyone, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, the co-founder and CEO of Aureus Financial.
Sam Panetta, the co-founder and COO of Aureus Financial.
And welcome to another episode of Enjoy the Journey podcast. We have a very special guest today, Matt Ellis, the Managing Director of Avonlea Labels and Packaging. Bit of a mouthful, Matt.
I know, it is a bit of a mouthful. Nice to be here.
Welcome aboard,
mate.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
Mate, so we met each other a couple of weeks ago at the Blueprint Conference, which was fantastic. We had some great conversations and we had to have you on the show, mate. So
Appreciate that.
You're a very inspiring individual. You've achieved some great things in your entrepreneurial journey, so we'd love to dive into that today.
Awesome, thanks.
So, mate, who is Matt Ellis in a nutshell?
Matt Ellis is a family man. Hopefully we can have some family soon. I've got a wife, Shaquila, beautiful wife, Shaquila, who supports me on my journey. Really couldn't be doing what I'm doing without her support, of course, and holding down the fort. Love business, I have to be honest. I love business, I love challenges, I love working with entrepreneurs and people such as yourself, and just like taking it head on, moving forward. Beautiful, that's me.
So, mate, how did you find yourself being in Avonlea Labels and Packaging? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I was working, I've actually got an online marketing background, so I was working in online marketing for companies, particularly around Google AdWords, and I was in a team that I wasn't really happy with. It wasn't congruent, and I actually found the team leader was quite aligned with who I am, and we connected and we had a coffee, and he started asking me questions about my life and my family, and I brought up the family business, Avonlea Labels, and he asked me a few things around that, and he said, "Mate, why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I never even thought about joining the family business. It wasn't even really something that I was thinking of at all." And he said, "Well, mate, have a chat to your dad, see if he wants to bring you on board, see if you can add value." And yeah, here we are.
Fantastic.
Excellent. So,
Yeah.
what do you think, being a marketer as a background, how beneficial do you think that is to being a business owner?
Mate, absolutely huge. It's crucial.
Yeah.
You have to be a marketer if you want to be a business owner, in my belief. I think marketing, it flows into everything about business. The culture, how do we perceive ourselves? How do people perceive us? How do we get noticed? Everything, our message, everything has to come down from marketing, and our vision and who we are needs to be aligned with our marketing strategy as well, I believe. I'm a firm believer of that. So it absolutely helped me. And online marketing is actually a highly competitive industry.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And you guys probably see that, and there are a lot of sharks out there doing the wrong thing, and that's in every industry, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are probably seeing as well. And so when I came into print, which is also a highly competitive industry, labels and packaging, specifically for me, I just didn't see like it was a challenge, because I've already come from that background. So it helped me in a big way, a huge way.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people, especially business owners, sometimes they don't think that they want to sell, right? They think that selling's a bad word, but selling doesn't have to be the snake oil salesman. No. Selling can be as simple as being able to articulate who you are as a person.
Definitely.
and what your business does to help the world. Do you know what I mean? So I agree with you 100%. It's super important to be able to get your message across to people.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes to being a salesperson, I like to think of myself as the anti-salesperson, because I don't sell. I actually try and understand the business. What is the business needs? What are their current problems? And I will transact a sale if I can solve their problems. Sure. If I can't solve their problems, then that's okay, because if I can't solve their problems and I try and push a product down their throat, well, we're talking about dollars and cents, and we don't want to be talking about dollars and cents. We just want to be adding value.
Correct.
That's really interesting, mate. I guess it's going from a marketer into which is more of a kind of a new age. Obviously, marketing's evolved a lot, and I guess the way that you've probably learnt marketing, particularly Google marketing, is very different to a traditional business like printing.
Yeah, that's true.
So how was that experience for you? Obviously, you've gone from one competitive industry to another, but they couldn't be any more different. So how did you fall into it? How did you find your groove?
I don't really think of the business I'm in as a print business. I just think of it as a business. I think print is a necessary part of a business in the FMCG, cosmetic, nutraceutical, whatever market that has some sort of product or delivery of some sort of product. So for me, it's just about understanding businesses and different industries. And if I can understand those businesses and those industries, I can add value. And a byproduct of me adding value will be, well, let me help you with the package or the pouch or the label. So yeah, I don't really see myself as being in the print industry, to be honest. I just see it as business.
You absolutely get it, mate. You absolutely get it. I think it's the same. When you're in business, you're in business. What the business does is important, but the core thing is that you're in business. And that's shown through, mate, because you have won the Western Sydney Young Entrepreneur of the Year award.
Yeah.
Mate, that is a phenomenal feat. Tell me, how does that come about? What have you done to get yourself to the point where you're the Young Entrepreneur of the Year?
To be honest, I don't know. It's sort of hard to say. I find I'm guilty of just moving forward and sort of thinking, okay, well, that's awesome. Now what next? Yeah. So it's hard for me to sort of like articulate why or how. But look, we've seen some phenomenal growth over the years. To be, I guess, nominated to be an entrepreneur, you have to look at the dollars and cents as well, but you also have to look at the vision and where we've come from. And we've seen double-digit growth figures, I can't remember for how many years. So growth has been excellent. And we're a solid believer of encouraging change, and we love digital. So for us, digital labels and packaging is at the forefront of what we do, because we see that as the where we can add value to the customers, both small and medium. And I guess that was showing through in my application.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's all I can really say about the matter, really. Yeah, I try my best to talk about it. It's something that I'm very proud of and fond of, but I tend to look forward.
This is the thing I like about you, mate. What's really important, right? And we've spoken about this a lot on the podcast. Is that a lot of business owners fall in the trap of they set a goal, they achieve it, and then they dwell on it. They're so busy celebrating what is their success that they forget about they actually need to keep the foot on the accelerator to keep forward momentum.
Wow.
And what I really like about you, and I think this is a key characteristic of a successful entrepreneur, is that you go, yeah, that's nice. What do I do now? You don't dwell on it. You don't even take that time to stop and smell the roses. You're just like, yeah, I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah. He almost does it naturally. You don't even know you're doing it, mate. You're just doing. You're not doing it on purpose. It's just built into you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually, I'm to be honest, I'm guilty of not stopping sometimes and just having a bit of a think. You know what? That's really nice, and enjoying it, and being present in the moment. So that's actually one of the things I'm really working on at the moment, is being present with guys like you, just present in general, because I'm always on the go, moving 100 miles an hour. That's sort of my comfort zone. So
nice.
Yeah.
So, mate, let's talk about, I guess, the industry as a whole, right? Like when I think of the printing industry, and I think that when most people think of the printing industry, they say that's an industry that's done. That industry is not going to be around in 10 or 20 years' time.
Yep.
We're going to be flying around in Teslas. And there's going to be ads and packaging and all this kind of stuff that's going to be completely phased out. So you obviously have a different view on what the industry looks like moving forwards, right? Yeah,
look, I'm realistic about there are certain verticals in the print industry that are consolidating and flattening out. We pride ourselves on being in the growth sectors of the print industry. So if you look around Coles, Woolies, you see a lot of pouches, stand-up pouches. I mean, think about protein bags. They've moved away from containers to bags. The print industry is evolving, but it's definitely not going away. And I think the reason why the industry's sort of got I guess it's bearish in a way, is because there's a lot of bigger businesses that aren't willing to adapt and change, which is why I'm so paranoid about making sure we move forward and we change and we innovate and we grow and we don't stop growing. Because I'm a firm believer, and my dad's always belted it into me, that if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And that's absolutely the case for a lot of the guys that aren't willing to change. They think they're too big to fail. And there's a lot. I mean, you've seen in the financial industry in 2008. I mean, there was some massive businesses.
The oldest company in the world, Lehman Brothers, failed.
That's the thing, mate, and I think that's why you need young guys. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of the old guys get real comfortable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Look
mean?
at the board of Lehman Brothers. Every single member of that board was a senior white male.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well,
They probably had more degrees than teeth left in their mouth, had more dollars than cents,
Yeah.
and they managed to blow up the world's biggest financial services business.
Well, they're all thinking the same, mate. That's the thing, do you know what I mean? If you've all been in the same business for 30 or 40 years, insular, it's all worked, there's no one who's going to challenge you. And even if they do, none of those guys are going to listen to shit that they were told.
No.
And it gets dangerous. And that's why guys like yourself, mate, you're an innovator. Do you know what I mean? And what's in store for your industry, for the printing industry, and how are you going to take advantage of it?
Sure. In June, I'm going to the Packaging and Pouch Convention in Miami, and we're going to go visit a few sites at the forefront of our industry. There are a few in Australia, but aren't many, and of course, I can't go and they won't open their doors to me.
I see you coming from a mile away. Your entrepreneurial award.
There comes Matt Ellis, shut the doors!
And your nice hair. Matt Ellis is coming.
What's in store? Well, I need to get educated, right? It's what I can see online is that, and what I foresee for the industry is that augmented reality is going to be a big one.
Yeah, wow.
Great opportunities in the augmented reality and VR space. Well, first of all, we're turning offline into online, right? That's absolutely magical, and we're turning online into offline. So, if you can imagine, if you're looking at a pouch, say a protein pouch, and you scan over it, it can tell you a story. It could cross promote another product, say a pre-workout, for example.
Wow.
There are endless opportunities in AR, which is really, really exciting. So, it allows brands to tell their story, to increase brand loyalty, and to cross-promote and increase sales and value per consumer, which is what it's all about, right? That's how we want to grow.
Cool.
So I see augmented reality and VR being a huge player in the packaging world, in the print world, and then we're increasingly conscious of recycling and putting our green stamp on the world, and with everything that's going on there. So I'm looking into compostables and recyclables. I think that's going to be a big play too. Compostable pouches, compostable labels, recyclable labels and pouches and packaging alike. So I think that'll be a huge one. And then cloud-based technology. So with what's going on with cloud and digital, being able to interact and talk to cloud, or digital print rather, being able to interact and talk to cloud, that means increased transparency for consumers, increased transparency across the production team and the company as well. So that's a lot more add value, and then automation too. So you could imagine uploading artwork, getting approval online, seeing that it's been acknowledged on our side, printing, it's now currently printing, now it's finished. Getting that transparency will be a big player. I think with the Gen Y and millennials becoming decision makers in the world, that's their expectation. They want transparency across the board in any industry. So why does print need to be any different? So that's what I see in the next 5 years.
Such a different take on it, isn't it?
It is. I like it. I think that you have to be conscious of your external environment. Otherwise, you run the risk of that if you're constantly focusing on who you are or what your business is internally, without constantly looking out to the environment for feedback, then you run the risk of being made redundant and left behind.
Yep.
And I think there's a number of points there. Like my girlfriend's vegan, right? And she whinges all the time about packaging. There's so much wastage in packaging. And I think that you're right. These decision makers who have these values, that want to know where their products are coming from, they want to know the story, they want to know the sustainability. And packaging is I guess, an excellent medium to be able to deliver all that in a symbiotic relationship with technology. So it's going to be one of those omni-channel things, I believe. It's just going to continue to evolve, which is really cool.
Definitely.
Mate, how did you, or what are some of the things that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today as a business person?
Wow. So how far back can I go?
You can go as far back as you like, mate.
Some of the obstacles. Well, look, what formed me as a business person was, I was always entrepreneurial. If I can be completely candid, in year 6, I had a sweet tooth, right? So I wanted heaps of paddle pops. So I thought, how am I going to get extra money? So I thought, you know what? I can buy condoms.
I love this story already.
At Woolworths,
yeah.
Right? I can buy 12 packs, 24 packs, and I can sell them at school to all the cool kids for $1. And that's how I was making a bit of profit. Buying paddle pops. So that was my first, I guess, taste of business.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to know.
I love that.
Do you remember the numbers? Do you remember what you were paying for the pack of condoms? You're selling them for $1, so a 24 pack, you're making $24 revenue. Do you remember what you were buying?
I think $8 something.
Wow, good margins.
Great margin. So that was my first taste. And
you knew your niche, it was perfect.
Yeah. I knew my niche, and so moving forward, I mean, I was always in like a highly competitive sport, soccer and baseball predominantly, and then I had to choose when I was going into representative whether it was soccer or baseball. I chose soccer, and I moved forward with that. And what that taught me leading into the topic about challenges in business is it taught me thick skin, how to deal with setbacks and injuries, how to work as a team with people that you might not necessarily want to deal with outside or off the soccer field rather. So, and how to socialize at a really young age and deal with all those kinds of things. So that's sort of, I guess, I really leverage off that skill set on a daily basis. How to be disciplined, how to move forward and be consistent day in, day out. And that's very aligned with what it's like to be a professional, semi-professional soccer player. So, and then I got injured when I was 19. I had a contract lined up to start getting paid for soccer, which was a huge setback. And
which club?
It was a little club called Schofield's. And at the time I was playing for Parramatta, and which was really exciting. And an injury got the better of me, which is completely fine. So I thought, well, what I'm going to do? Hated school. Didn't really do well at school. And thought, I'm going to be a personal trainer, right? So I left school. This was obviously before I was 19. Left school, wanting to be a personal trainer, and my dad said, well, mate, there's no way you're going to be sitting at home doing nothing. If you want to be a personal trainer, that's fine, but you obviously need to study to be a personal trainer. You got to work. So I lined up a whole bunch of jobs and doing anything. Gloria Jeans, 7-Eleven, an apprenticeship, a random apprenticeship.
What were you in? What trade?
Audio visual electronics, repairing DVD players.
Yeah, wow.
Imagine if I stayed on that trade. So I ended up in this apprenticeship, right? And I looked at all these guys, overweight, unhappy and miserable, with bad backs, needing to get surgery. I'm thinking, that's not for me. So I left after 8 months and stumbled into the online marketing space. And then fast forward, I'm here now. But in terms of challenges, I guess making decisions that are wrong, right? And it's such a blessing, but at the time it sucks.
Ruins your universe, mate. And you make a bad decision.
It sucks. Either you pick the wrong person for the wrong job, might not even be their fault, they're just not suited to the particular role, but it can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Picking the wrong salesperson, picking a salesperson, if maybe it's not the right time for you. So all of these challenges, to me, they're just lessons, right? They just cost entrepreneurs a lot more money.
And it's funny that you mention that, mate, because I'm a very firm believer in that, not only as a business person, but even accumulating wealth personally or within your family. I think there comes a changeover point where the hard work and the hours and all that are overshadowed by the decision making. So the decision making, whether you make a right or wrong decision, it's 95% of your results. Do you know what I mean? And that's when you have to think, my job now is to be a thinker, and everyone else's job to execute, but I need to think and I need to make sure that I make the right decision because my family or my team is relying on me to make the correct decisions. And I think that's when your mindset changes as well a lot as a business owner.
Have you guys read the book from Krill Price, The Art of, I think it's called Decisionship or something?
Nah.
Check it out. And because have you guys heard his story? So he went from, I don't know how much dollars to, he sold his business for $100 million. He's an Aussie bloke.
Cool.
And everyone asked him, so if you were to say, like, what's one thing that would that I could do to become successful. And he says the art of decision making.
There you go.
You know, how to make good, accurate decisions in the fastest way possible. And he dissects it. It's pretty
I've got to
cool.
read
Well, that's the
that.
thing. I think being a good decision maker is only getting harder because we're overwhelmed by choice. There are so many things that we could be doing in life and in business, and even in our wealth for that matter, that in a lot of cases we're overwhelmed by choice, and then we're shocked into paralysis. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I think we commonly fall into the trap of either being indecisive and just deferring it, or being tempted into making the decision for the wrong reasons. And it's tough. It's tough. We were having a conversation off air. We were talking about the behavioural side of investing, like investing in Forex. And I'm sure a lot of you who are listening or watching have done these kind of Forex programs where you've got fake money and you're trading with it and you can do really good things, and they're teaching all the theory. But what they don't factor in is the behavioural part of what happens when you've actually got real skin in the game.
Big time.
Particularly when you're a business owner, how much more skin in the game can you have?
Got all the skin, mate.
All
All the
the
skin. You literally your whole
So
body's
much.
in
The
there.
whole body's in there.
I'm drinking in skin.
Just covered in skin.
So, mate, on that point, what do you think in your entrepreneurial journey was the kind of one big defining decision that kind of is in your mind, the first thing that comes to mind that you've made that's allowed you to get to where you are today?
It's a tough question.
That's a really
I'm trying to think of a
question. You
name
just
to
throw that at me.
Sorry, mate.
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, so what do you think is one big decision that's got you to where you are today, the success that you've had in business and in your career overall? Is there anything that kind of comes to mind straight away that you can think of?
Freedom. For me, business is one of the, or probably the only vehicle that can create ultimate freedom, passive income, where you can help lots of others, right? And you can give back. It's a no-brainer. I mean, look at us now. What day is it? Thursday.
Thursday.
We're in the middle of Thursday. It's nearly 2 p.m.
Who else could be doing this?
And
right?
we're
else could be
sitting here
doing
having a
this?
podcast.
Exactly right.
I love it.
With the coffee machine going off in the background.
We planned that. We actually wanted the coffee machine to go off at that moment. It was all for effect.
Just to crush Matt. He's having this profound moment of talking about his journey.
We're
So,
professionals, can't you
we're
tell?
professionals.
Absolute professionals.
We're having fun.
But I think that's important. Like that's the reason why I'm an entrepreneur. It's for that freedom. I think that once you taste that freedom, that you have the world is really your oyster. That you have the ability to craft the life that you desire as a direct result of your actions.
Absolutely.
That's really powerful. And I always thought that when through my career, there's a few points where I got to a crossroads and said, am I going to become self-employed or am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? And I always had that doubt of saying, shit, what happens if I don't perform? What happens if I don't have income for a month? And how am I going to survive? And then I kind of stayed where I was. But then eventually that thought just kept coming back. And then I'm like, no, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And you just dive in. And then once you're in the thick of it, you don't really think about it, do you?
No, not really. I mean, we talked about flow in that BB seminar a couple of weeks ago. When you get in flow, it's just not even a thing. You know, you just do it.
That's the thing, mate. And this separates the men from the boys, for lack of a better word. It's when you love it, it's not hard to get up and go to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you do, mate. I know Jackson and I, we work big hours at the moment. We're trying to get the business up and running. We're trying to get it going. I leave my house in the morning super early. I'm full of energy. I get home after a 14-hour day. My wife's there. She's cooking up some pasta or something like that. And I'm still full of energy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's because I've enjoyed every moment of my day. If you hated your job and you worked a 14-hour day, I'm telling you, you'd be fucked. You'd have no energy left after that.
No, definitely. I couldn't agree more. No, you guys are doing an absolute amazing job. Couldn't be prouder to be a part of this and part of your
Thanks,
journey
mate.
as well. Yeah.
Mate, and we're just lucky that we all met, you know. We went to this business blueprint conference. That's a phenomenal amount of value, I think, for any business owner. Every time we go there, we walk away thinking, shit, there's 100 things that we can be doing better. Let's do them right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, we get to meet guys like yourself, Matt, and we get along.
Well, remember, we met at the at Jonah's.
That's right, yeah.
Because we were we took action, right?
Correct.
We were one of the first to take action. And if you noticed, I was actually thinking about this today. There's a few of us that have actually stayed close and communicate. I've got a meeting with another one of the guys at Jonas tomorrow.
Nice.
And the only differentiation point was that we were action takers.
Correct.
And that's the thing, mate. And maybe that's why we get along. We've got similar personalities or similar values, or
I'm a big believer that you're an average of the people that you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people who are kind of naysayers or constantly in doubt and in fear, then you're going to breed that in yourself.
Yeah.
But if you surround yourself with action takers, with doers, with visionaries, with people who actually want to make a difference in the world and are passionate about what they do, then that's only going to, I guess, amplify the way that you conduct yourself.
Awesome.
So, mate, so let's kind of take a bit of a segue. So on the topic of business blueprint, we've had a couple of conversations, and it seems like you're constantly investing in your education.
Oh yeah.
So why is that, mate? What's so important to you about continuing to remain educated and do these types of things?
Oh man, it's just an absolute no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. You need to educate. If you're in business and you're not educating and you think you know everything, you've failed already. But you need to educate yourself. My self-educational journey started when I was 19, gave real estate a go, decided to go on a 4-month sabbatical instead. But it taught me how to self-educate, and there's so much value in learning, and the benefit is obviously you can just learn whatever you want to learn too.
Yeah.
But to answer your question around BB, the reason why I joined Business Blueprint is because what was relevant 2 years ago is not relevant anymore. A lot of the conversations in my last, when I did my last, similar version of BB 2 years ago, it was all about Snapchat and Facebook, right? And now we're talking about LinkedIn. That's a huge one for B2B. It's an absolute massive one. Facebook is now, it's growing phenomenally, but it's an aging demographic. The older guys are on there, and the young kids don't even know what Instagram is and Snapchat. They're talking about Musical.ly. So there's just
I don't know what that is. So I must be an old
to be honest, I don't even know what it is. I just know the details, right? I know the stats, but it's incredible. So at the rate of technology where it's going now, I mean, we're talking about augmented reality for printing.
You just got to keep up, right?
You just got to keep up, and there's only one way to hack that, and that's to join things like this, where it's their sole job to keep us educated and up to date on what's new.
Oh, mate, I can't agree with you any more than I do. It's just so important, and it's going to become critical for business owners. If the way the next 10 years, the world will change more than it has over the past 50. And the business owners who aren't adapting, they're really going to struggle, man. I don't care what industry you're in. If you're not keeping up with the rate of change, then you're going to be in for some shit, I reckon, as a business person.
Well, here's the problem, right? I think that a lot of us, and I think a common theme that I've found through all of the people that we associate with, none of us were ever good at school.
No,
right? We all hated school because we were all put through a very structured approach that added really not a whole lot of value to us and from an internal perspective. And I think that's a common theme. But I think unfortunately for some business owners, they still have that association with education of what their experience was at school. So therefore that ego thing, that kind of, he's constantly like, I don't want to be educated. Like I remember what that was like.
Yeah, that's so true. I never even thought about it like that.
And I think it's tough. I think that more so guys like us have to put it out there in the world to make people like that really come to terms with the fact, no, if you're not being educated, you're going to fail.
Yeah, I agree. And it's never been easier to digest content and information.
Correct.
Exactly.
I was here on the way. I like 45-minute drives now because I get to learn. Right? I've got Audible, so I listen to my books. I don't read books. I listen to books. At like 60% faster than the guys talking, so I can absorb more information. Right? And I taught myself how to do that, but it's so easy to get information. I mean, we can go on a video speed controller now, and we can go through. We can speed it up and digest it. There's never been a better time to absorb information, and there's really no excuse not to be able to do it. And
it's so, mate, it's so important, and it's so available. Do you know what I mean? Like anything you want to learn today, you can learn. And my grandfather keeps coming into my head, right? So he came over here when he was 13 years old. He came on a boat on his own without his parents from war-torn Italy, from the south. The farms were destroyed, and he didn't have the opportunity to go to school, right? So he had to come to Australia, how to learn how to speak English, how to read English, how to write English, and that's the pinnacle of having no education, having to teach yourself, right? And then you fast forward to today, 2018, the world's changed a lot, and in a place like Australia, we're blessed, right? You have anything that you want in Australia as long as you work for it. And it's all here. Most people don't pick it up. It's there, it's on the ground, and they look at it. I don't want that. They leave it there.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You imagine back 60, 70 years ago when there was all the immigration to Australia and where a lot of these guys come from. Look at this. You know what I mean? So
overwhelmed by choice, Sam.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Overwhelmed by choice.
There's just too much opportunity.
Too much choice that you can't choose.
Yeah, that's the thing. And there's never been as much content available free. You can run a business and you can learn everything that you need for free on YouTube.
It's true.
You want to know how to make a coffee? You want to learn how to be a barista? Go on YouTube. I'll show you. You know, there's really no excuse. But like you said, there's just so much choice. Where do I start? What do I do? What now?
It's interesting. Now, we're going to take a bit of a change of pace here, Matt. It's something we haven't covered on the podcast, but I think it's important because when we were caught up a couple of weeks ago, you were telling me that when you did the last program, you took your wife through it as well.
Yep.
Now, I think this is really important because as entrepreneurs, typically some of the biggest issues we see is lack of congruency between partners. You've got one person in a partnership in a committed relationship who's very entrepreneurial, and the other person who is just doing their own thing and taking a different path in life. And because of that disconnect, there can sometimes be some ambiguities and issues that come up from that.
Yep.
So what was your decision-making process between taking your wife through that experience?
Well, look, I think we're all salespeople at the end of the day. We have to sell anyone, whether it's your wife or into doing something, or your wife selling you into something, right? So I found myself talking about my what my financial goals were and my goals in life, and we kept on hitting a wall. You know, she comes from a conservative family, buy a home, pay it off. That's the dream, right? But I was like, no, let's just rent for the rest of our lives and invest in property. Right? That is the extreme at that point. It's not necessarily good advice. But so we were at the opposite ends, and I was starting to learn more, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be silly of me to have all these dreams and understand why I've got these dreams and how I'm going to do it, and I've got the framework and my wife doesn't. To me, that just didn't make any sense. So I thought, okay, well, if we're going to go and do what might seem as crazy for the uneducated, then she needs to get on that bandwagon. Now she's crazy. Now she's the crazy one to a lot of people. So she's like, when are we getting the next investment property, or what are we doing next, or you know, so which is absolutely incredible. So yeah, for me, I mean, it's not cheap. You're paying double, but it's well worth it in the long run.
It pays for itself in the long run.
Yeah, I'm really glad you've done that, mate, because I think most couples aren't congruent, especially when one is really ambitious and an entrepreneur, because everything seems really risky, as you said. And I don't know anyone else who's done that. So it's obviously worked wonders. Do you know what I mean?
Great. It's great. Yeah, we have proactive conversations, and she because she's learned the information, she understands the framework mentally. So I don't really have to go and sell her like I mentioned before on, hey, we should go and start saving for another property, or maybe we should go and do an acquisition and buy another business. Or it's not really a matter of why. She understands why. It's just, okay, so how do we do that? Yeah. You know,
it's a big change in dynamic.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I think that's immensely valuable. I think you have to be on the same level because your life partner or business partner has to support you.
Yeah.
And if they're not on board 100%, it makes it very, very difficult because you've always got that being torn between, like Sam said before, working those 12, 14-hour days. If they can't understand why you're actually doing it, then it makes it very, very hard.
Mate, I think you need the support. Do you know what I mean? Like I've always worked big hours since I was young, right? I've been with my wife for nearly 10 years now, and since even before I met her, I've worked big hours, and my missus has never had the shits about me working big hours, right? It's never once been an issue. But I know other people that their life partner gets the shits at them for working big hours, and I sit and I reflect on that, and I think, fuck, like how much harder would this be if someone else was putting pressure on me? Like I had, pressure from the investments and pressure from the business. Imagine if you were getting pressure from somewhere else as well. It would, it'd be tough, man.
Definitely tough. But I think you've probably done a good job explaining why you're doing what you're doing. She understands why. You might have not have been consciously thinking that you're educating her, but you're educating her, and
maybe the whole time.
You're selling her into the dream, into the goal, into the vision, and she's bought into that, which is why she's comfortable with it. But some people don't make the time. They just think, oh well, I'm just doing it. I'm doing hard work. Can't you understand why I'm doing? And they don't understand. They don't take the time to sit down with their partner and explain why I'm actually doing this. Do you want to do this? Are we, like you said, are we congruent? Do we want the same goals? And if we don't have the same goals, that's okay. Let's find out where that sweet spot is, where we can both live harmoniously and happy together.
It's all about communication, mate. I think that's the most important thing. I think the hard part is when you are working so hard, coming home after a 12, 14-hour day where you've been talking all day. And there is always that temptation that, you just want to go sit on the couch, switch off, and just be a zombie. You have to invest that extra time, because in the long run, it's the only way you're going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that. I need to do more of that. Definitely less of the couch sitting at the end.
I've got to take my advice.
Jackson's thinking I'm not going to do that.
Sorry. So, mate, from everything we've spoken about, obviously we've covered a fair bit. So, based on all of your experience, everything that you've been through on your journey, what would be some advice that you'd give to everyone who's watching and listening today to help them on their journey?
Have an open mind. Never be afraid to learn from anyone, no matter how little experience they have, or how young or how old they are. They've always got a bit of advice, and take it. So absolutely have an open mind. Embrace change, embrace failure, and always move forward.
Love that, mate.
You're
an inspiring individual. We likewise look forward to kind of watching your journey and as you continue to progress. So we'll have you on the podcast probably same time next year.
So I think so. See what you've done.
Sounds good,
mate. Wish you all the best.
We'll see you on the rich list, mate.
See you on the rich list. Thanks, everyone. Another episode of Enjoy the Journey podcast. If you want to get in touch with Matt, if you're an FMCG business looking for flexible packaging, feel free to reach out. Avonlea Labels, we'll include all of the details in the description, and we'll join you next time for another episode of Enjoy the Journey.
We'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Thank you.